What's going on, boys and girls? Welcome back to Building an Empire, Day in a Life. You're here with two of the major empire builders. Dougal here. Who's this guy? You haven't been in the vlogs yet.
This is Alexander the Great, running the ship.
And I was at Penthouse doing my other real job today, and so was Alex doing his job. But Alex is working on some software tenders tonight to generate some cash for those other businesses of ours like Pacific Trade Takeover and Dream, which are cash intensive at the minute. So Alex, what are the tenders? What is a software tender? Why do we like them? And which one have you been looking at?
So I've only been looking relatively recently today. I've had a little bit of spare time, but the one that I'm looking at the moment is a tender for the provision of cloud services for Victorian Library. So one of the benefits of being kind of involved in software is that you don't necessarily have to always apply for the provision of hardware services that exist kind of within your locality. So having the network of existing software developers means that we can actually apply for a whole range of tenders across states and territories. So the one I'm looking at the moment is, as I mentioned, is the provision of cloud services and administrative services for the Victorian Library. And so one of the things you have to work out is obviously how much resources can you devote to a tender like that. Should you price it at, because you have to submit a price for them to review. It's not kind of this tender is worth $100,000 or $200,000. You submit your proposal, they evaluate the proposal, and then they get back to you. So obviously there are a couple of things you're balancing up. Number one is you want to provide a price estimate that will allow you to make a profit whilst also not ensuring that it's too high that you don't even get selected in the first place. So for us, because we're just starting out, we're definitely trying to end up on the lower end of the spectrum, but obviously considering the fact we don't really know what everyone else is putting in, it's difficult to really gauge. So that's what I'm looking at. That's the priority number one. Still looking through a couple of the other tenders. Obviously it's the beginning of the year, so a lot of people are on holidays, especially kind of in the public sector. So that means that really there aren't a lot of new tenders that are opening up right now. So it's kind of trawling through. I've already been through the New South Wales government website, council websites in New South Wales as well, the Australian government website. It's more just going through the local tenders, seeing if there's anything that sticks out. But that one's probably the highest priority, so that's due at the beginning of Feb. So we'll probably have a meeting, discuss what we can do, how we can allocate our resources, what the pricing is, what the costing is, and basically get that submitted.
Why would people choose us instead of somebody else? What's our strengths?
Strengths number one is we can provide 24/7 support for software platform, and also we're coming in way cheaper as far as I can tell.
And how much bullshitting from us goes into these documents?
Pretty much as little as possible, because you typically only have to bullshit if you don't know what you're talking about, number one, and number two, if you're providing a shitty service. So we're not doing either. So there's actually comparatively little bullshit compared to a lot of the other things that we talk about.
Like what?
Like the amount of women you get, how many chicks Andy gets, how much money you guys think you're making, who's up the earliest, Abhishek's IQ maybe, whether or not Armen's actually, doing any work, all of that type of stuff. There's a lot of bullshit, but the actual proposals and the actual submissions, rock solid.
Today, apparently, we're going to be costing a salt export. We'll see how that goes.
Abby's asleep, isn't he? It's going to be hard to get the costings.
Abby needs to fucking have a 9 to 5 fucking time and normal hours, because this is just ridiculous.
I've got normal hours.
No,
and I've got normal hours and I get shit. Abby's got abnormal hours. He gets shit.
No,
Armen, it sounds like you might be the problem.
You've got abnormal sleeping hours. You've got abnormal hours going to sleep. I'm like surprised you're awake now. Normally you're having your wank by 8 and in bed and asleep by 8:30.
He's the boss. I got to wear it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Be careful too. I'm working out with your brother, so I'm getting big.
Yeah.
I've got guns to show today.
You boys might have to be moving up to some mediums soon, I reckon. That's exciting. That's exciting. I'll tell Fiona when she's ordering the company sweaters that we got a couple mediums. So one of the problems we're having is figuring out how much salt we can actually pack into a 40-foot container. So obviously it's even different types of salt. The packaging actually means that you take up more space, and it's not a weight thing, it's a space thing. So Dukes, what are we thinking in terms of the solutions?
Well, Google's telling us something different. Google's saying in a 20-foot container you can put 10 pallets, and in a 40-foot container you can fit 21. But our guy was saying in a 20-foot pallet container you can fit like 40 pallets, something like that.
So he was saying you could get double what Google is saying.
I think so, if I heard him correctly. But you know, with company things like this, you have a phone call, talk about a few things, but then you follow it up with an email so you can reference things and get proper answers for things.
Well, one of the things that an email does is actually put something in writing as well. It means that person's a little bit more accountable to what they say. You've got it. It's not just hearsay. Yep. So
Armen's the king of emails.
No one loves an email more than Armen. Armen email our Jacqueline. Basically what we're doing is we're putting together a mission statement, value proposition, basically a summary of what Corokai Group does. So Armen's been kind enough to sit down and basically write this out. It's a bit of a painful process. He's in the third draft, but it's one of those things where if you look at something enough over and over again, you typically need a fresh set of eyes. So that's what I'm doing here, is we're going over it and we're just tightening it up, strengthening it, so that when we put it to people, because Corokai Group's got a couple of different things we do, it's tight, it's neat, it's punchy, it gets the message home real nice and quick.
Any fresh bits, any visions to share with the camera?
I can tell you off the dome what it says is that the goal of Corokai Group is to provide a fully integrated end-to-end closed-loop supply chain for Australian businesses to get into the emerging and rapidly growing Indian market. So one cool thing we're getting at the minute is, obviously we've got a couple samples over in India at the moment, so we're actually got the Indian sales team sending out pictures of when they drop samples off at stores. So this is one of the things that you look at, right? So we get every day, can you see that? Just so that they're aware, all these new little department stores, we've got the sales reps going out there getting the job done. It's one of those things, is a lot of the time you really just have to go out into the store, put the product in front of the owner's face and say, you want this product, how many can I give you?
We are talking about run-of-the-mill Australian.
That's what I think I picked up from the side of the road. I think he said Leatherwood or something.
No, you wouldn't have got Leatherwood from him. You would have just got the Ironbark or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, where is it?
I'll go get it.
Get it. I'll tell you if it's real honey or not.
The almond tasting session.
This.
This is definitely Ironbark or Black Box.
Hold it up so the camera can see it.
You have no idea how healthy this honey is. I definitely do. Mate, I am definitely going to have to ask you where you got this from, because honey of this colour is extremely rare right now because of the amount of rainfall we've had. So this has definitely got to be this is a wattle and black box blend. So there were probably wattles nearby.
Yeah.
And the black box, basically gum trees.
Okay.
They're those big gum trees you see out in the middle of paddocks in the farms in the Southern Highlands. Those big old gum trees.
Yeah, right.
I am definitely going to have to ask you to give me the address or location of where this old mate was.
You know where Sutton Forest is?
Yes.
Sorry, Pheasant's Nest. Pheasant's Nest. So he was right next to the Pheasant's Nest service station.
Oh, so it's just outside the service station. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So first week of the new year. I know it's great music, isn't it? And I've basically just got back on the phone again, calling Australian food producers, and hopefully extend that to Australian manufacturers as well as miners potentially in the very near future, and trying to get them on board to exporting their products to the great land of opportunity that is India. Salt's very unique. You normally pack out a 40-foot container you pack out the volume first of a 40-foot container before you pack out the weight, the total maximum net weight of product. However, we've managed to, with salt, pack out its weight first before the volume, which is interesting because I've been used to pretty much almost always packing out the volume of a container and never actually reaching its full net weight. So with salt, we can essentially pack salt right up to over 30 tonne, but we can't do that. We need to pack out the container at 26 tonne. However, we can't even get up that high because of road weight restrictions in Australia. The load restrictions in Australia is capped at 27 tonne gross, which I think is a very stupid thing, and that's another form of lobbying we need to do, is to increase the load weight restrictions in Australia. So we're going to have to pack out that container of maybe 24 tonne or 23 tonne instead of 26 tonne. Already at 26 tonne, there's going to be a lot of air in the container, and now 24 tonne, we're going to have so much bloody free space in that container. It's just so inefficient.
Andos, what have you been up to?
Well, over the past couple of days, I've been on a little bit of holiday mode, hanging out with my buddies. Today, I've been on a little bit of a self-improvement grind, trying to get more organised, more tidy. But more specifically to the company, we've been looking at government grants, which means government just gives us a bunch of money in order to conduct our business. So the main one we're looking at is called the Australia-India Council Grants Program. Application needs to be in by the 18th of January, but that's no sweat really, it won't take that long. But so that the whole concept of this grant is to improve the trade relationship and the relationship in general, but more specifically trade and manufacturing relationship between Australia and India, which is where we come in. They give out a max of 150k per company. That would be real nice if we could net ourselves a little bit of that cashola. And there are a bunch of other grants, a bunch of other kind of tax incentives as well, which I've been looking at. But yeah, we're trying to maximize the amount of money that we can get from other sources, which won't really compromise upon our business integrity. And it's not just you put in the application and you get it. There's a few phases. It's like a job interview kind of. A few phases to it. You have to you got to prove your worth, and it's a little bit difficult as a new fresh company in order to prove your worth, but I'm sure we'll be able to with some nice linguistic limbo, I would say, which is one of our fortes, I would say. But yeah, we're just that's what I've been looking at, trying to maximize what we can get from the government.